Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name remains Okoriwu Mabeze. In today's video, I will explain how to make an incomplete quadratic equation a perfect square. Now, this video is not interested with explaining quadratic equation. If you as a student know how to solve quadratic equation, kudos. You understand that in solving quadratic equation, you are likely to use formula method, factorization method, and completing the square method, or sometimes your teacher could ask you to use graph to solve the quadratic equation. But in today's video, we want to make an incomplete quadratic equation to be a perfect square. So if I should draw your attention back to the formula method, you agree with me that the formula method of quadratic equation goes like this, whereby we have x equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now this is the formula of quadratic equation. Now since this has been written, what happens in a situation whereby you as a student decide to say let d equal to b squared minus 4ac. If we say this, it then implies that your x will no longer be, will then be minus b plus or minus square root of d, then divided by 2a. Now you begin to wonder, why must we go into this rigorous process? This d is very important to us because as it states now, d is very important to us in the sense that what happens when d is equal to 0? And besides, this d is known as discriminant. This is called discriminant. This discriminant is important in the sense that if you check, if d, or you say let d equal to 0, if d is equal to 0, it then means that this guy here, if we put 0 here, we are going to get b squared minus 4ac. When discriminant becomes 0, that is where the beauty of this guy lies. Now, if we rearrange this equation, we are going to get b squared equal to 4ac. If you want to achieve a perfect square in quadratic equation, your interest is to first of all make d equal to 0. So if d is equal to 0, it means that the quadratic equation you are dealing with must be a perfect square. I will explain the meaning of quadratic equation being a perfect square. Now, from here, we have b squared equal to 4ac. And normally, the general form of quadratic equation, or the general formula of quadratic equation goes like this. We have ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Alright, so here we're going to get that the discriminant is equal to 0, which means our b squared is equal to 4ac. So our interest is, since we have gotten this, let me use this opportunity to explain what it means for a quadratic equation to be a perfect square. If a quadratic equation is said to be a perfect square, it means that the roots or the solutions of the quadratic equation must be the same. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that normally, if you are asked to solve quadratic equation, at the end of the day, your x could be 2 or 3 or minus or anything. If you check here, these two guys are not the same. 2 and 3 can never be the same. Since they are not the same, we cannot say that this root, that whatever quadratic equation that gave us this root is a perfect square. If this quadratic equation is a perfect square, what we are going to get, our x could be 2 or 2, or our x could be 3 or 3. So there is no two ways about this. If your quadratic equation is a perfect square, the answer that you get must have the same result. If you have 1, you have another 1. If you have 2, you have another 2. If you have minus 3, you have another minus 3. The two answers must be, or the two solutions, or the two rules must be the same. But when they are not the same, it clearly means that your quadratic equation, or the given quadratic equation, is not a perfect square. But when you are given an incomplete quadratic equation and you are asked to make it a perfect square, your interest is to locate the discriminant, which is d, and you assign 0 to that discriminant. The moment you have done that, your b squared would then be equal to 4ac if you arrange it properly. So all we need to do now is to write solution. Or we write solution, we'll comparing the question, which is 9x squared minus 12x plus k. We'll compare it with the general quadratic equation. The general quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c. When we do that, our a is 9. Our b will be minus 12. Look at it here, minus 12. And our c is nothing but k, or plus k. So, a quadratic equation is said to be a perfect square if and only if b squared is equal to 4ac. So our interest here is to substitute the values of a, b, and c accordingly. So here we find out that b is minus 12. Put down minus 12 in brackets, all squared equal to 4. 4ac means 4 times. Our a is 9. Our c is k. If you square this, we are going to get 144 equal to, well, 4 times 9 times k. So our interest now is, we divide both sides. You have to divide both sides by 4 times 9. It's something like saying divide both sides by 36. If you do that, we'll have 144 divided by 4 times 9 is equal to k, because we are going to divide this side as well. So k will go down. So if you check here, if you take 2 divide here, will give us 72. 2 here, we'll have 2. 9 here is 1. 9 here will give us 8. 9 times 8 is 72. So this 2 will divide itself 1. Divide 8 to give you 4. At the end of the day, it implies that the value of k is nothing but 4. So when k is equal to 4, this expression will be a perfect square. So in this example, what we're going to do is, if you write solution, you just write, you say compare, or comparing ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. You compare it with the given question. The question says 4x squared plus 5x plus q. This is what the question said. So here, a is 4, b is 5, and q is equal to c. So, and the person is interested to know the value of q that will make this expression to be a complete square. So, for a quadratic expression to be a complete square, you should know that b squared must be equal to 4ac. So when you remember this, you are good to go. So the next thing is to put the value of b where it's supposed to be. B is 5 here. We say 5 squared is equal to 4 times our a is 4 times our c is equal to q. So it's something as writing, or you can say c is equal to q. Both of them are equal anyway. So here, what we'll have, d squared will give us 25 equal to 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times q is equal to 16q. Now our interest is, we have to say divide both sides by 16. because we simply want to get Q. And if we go ahead, Q is going to be 25/16. So this is the value of Q that could make this expression to be a perfect square. So you have to know that a quadratic equation is said to be a perfect square if and only if b squared is equal to 4ac.